Hello and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy podcast. My name is Jed and today we are in the Philosophical Midwifery book. Oh, what's Philosophical Midwifery, you might be asking? Well, it's how to understand and solve human problems. Hooray! Now, of course, there is a certain class of human problems that can't be solved with mere reason and evidence. In fact, one of the features of this kind of problem is that it prevents the individual from being able to relate to evidence and reason that contradicts or disproves that particular belief. And so the person becomes confused, hostile, angry, defensive, because people who are doing their best to help the person to learn, are asking them to relate to something they can't relate to. The person can't themselves respond to a reality that they can't perceive or relate to. Because the nature of this problem, the reason why it's a problem, is it blinds us. It causes us to interpret or project onto reality or edit out. That's interpretation, to add what isn't there or to leave out what is there. So, we are learning about interpretation as we read because we want to make sure that we are not interpreting when we're reading, which is different from most people's experience at school. Normally we get asked, what does this book mean to you? What do you feel this book is about? And so we are told to just make up all sorts of garbage. But that will blind us from the actual content and the actual meaning that the author is themselves trying to convey. So we're learning about interpretation and how that's different from seeing in terms of reading, but that also we can also apply that understanding to the blinding nature of the pathologos false belief itself. Right, so that's what we're trying to understand. What is this class of belief called pathologos, and why is it the cause of the fundamental problems we face as individuals, as human beings, and the fundamental problems we face as a race? Why is it that
no one seems to be learning or growing or addressing actual problems?
Why are we not able to solve the problems that we are repeating over and over and over again? Either ourselves, repeating problems we face as we approach our most meaningful goals, especially when we need to be our best, when we need to, when the goal that we are pursuing is the most personally significant for us, and also as a race. Why are we stuck killing each other? Why do we still think punishment, which is stupid, irrational, doesn't help anything, is something that we should embrace in our justice system, in our the way that we relate to other nations? Why do we bomb the shit out of children? Why do some billionaires get to have 500,000 houses while 500,000 other people sleep on the street or die because they are sleeping on the street without a house to live in? Why are we still doing this stupid shit? It's because of pathologos. Or rather, humanity's It's because humanity hasn't yet awakened to the fact that we are playing out the implications of what follows if we A, do not embrace the logos, the understandable nature of reality, if we don't embrace understanding, and if we fail to do philosophical midwifery to understand, address, and remove that specific kind of belief that makes us stuck, entrenched in our problems. That's what we are experiencing through time. The implications of a lack of logos and a lack of philosophical midwifery, and the repeating cycles of suffering and injustice that follows. That's where we are as a species. So what? What are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? What do you say, Arun?
Okay, go ahead. That's where you live, in the weirdo pool. You're going around doing that in the weirdo pool. That's you.
Okay. Not helpful, but here's another idea. We can read this book together and practice, because what we've been learning recently from chapter 3 is the developmental process that we are supposed to be going through is the movement from ignorance, a certain kind of ignorance where we are aware of what we don't know, but we are eager and willing to find out, to figure out what it is that we don't know. Different from pathologos ignorance, where we would rather defend what we don't know, and we would rather pretend to be the knower. Let's imitate mummy and daddy that we perceived when we were young, who were themselves lying, bullshitting us, scamming us, pretending to be knowing, pretending to be wise, pretending to be loving in certain key scenes. We have to uncover those scenes because we did not judge them properly. We gave them the benefit of the doubt and we took the blame ourselves. Their injustice, we said, well, that must be our fault because we love them. And if this is how they treat us when we are in our high state, they must be pretty fucked up. That's too much of a truth for a 3 or 4 year old to deal with who's dependent on their parents. So maturity is facing the truth. Truth has to lead self, always. That's fundamental. If the truth is not leading the self, yourself, then you are in a problem. And that means telling the truth about how our parents or parental surrogates were functioning at that particular time. Because they weren't functioning as parents, they were functioning as an imitator, imitating the same injustice they suffered from their parents. So what we've been learning about is that's a kind of teaching. Our grandparents were to our parents as our parents were to us, and then we will inflict the same problems onto our children, and so on and so on. And we've also, while that's how it's passed on, the teaching itself isn't actually a teaching. It's not something you can pass on because it's imitation. So we understand it as a redundant, stagnant analogy. As our parents were to us, we are to someone else. And through time, what we are seeing are human beings trying to put themselves in positions of power over people so they can inflict that injustice on others with impunity. Whether it be becoming a principal of a school where you get to abuse children, whether you're a prison warden, or whether you're a president bombing the shit out of some other country. Whatever it is, human beings are stuck as sleepwalkers. Sleepwalkers were in the book, somnambulists, but we might say zombies. We are affected with a zombie virus, and that's fate. It has us. It controls us. It puts us in a loop, and that's called fate because you can predict the entirety of your life based on your pathologos, because human beings driven by the pathologos will seek to put themselves in positions to be the knower. Why? Because our soul seeks actual knowledge. Our soul is born seeking the truth about self and reality, so much so that even the distorted appearance of truth, of wisdom, of knowingness, of love and care can become the most powerful, enslaving force in the entire universe. That's the pathologos. That's the stakes of what we're doing, and that's why we're here. Now, at the time of recording, I've just come back from playing music, and it's very, very late, so you'll have to excuse my red eyes and my flushed appearance, but who cares? We're reading anyway. Why not? Hopefully my coffee will help keep me awake as we go through this. So, the first chapter, as we read, the problem, the question, the stakes. The second chapter went through a very long, I think 11 stages, describing the pathologos belief itself. The third chapter distinguished the 6 types of beliefs humans can have, and hierarchically arranged it for our own understanding. And the very worst kind of belief is even below a prejudice, is the pathologos belief. That was chapter 3. Pathologos belief, an unsuspected false belief about the nature of self and reality and how the divine has affects us. That is the cause of our repeated problems, our suffering, and is always irreconcilable with our most meaningful goals. That's the pathologos belief. That's what we're here to address. And we also learned about the 2 kinds of teaching models that there are. There's the mean analogy, A is to B as B is to C. Your teacher teaches you. When you have sufficiently mastered the material, you can teach someone else. And then likewise, that's called the Dharma successorship when it applies to truth, reality, philosophy, metaphysics, being, the nature of reality, the meaning of life, the dimensions that we are going through, cognitive, all of these sort of things. We can say it's the Dharma successorship, the most meaningful teaching. The way that we pass on the most meaningful teaching is called the Dharma successorship. Dharma is another word for spiritual teaching. That's the model. That's my coffee. Like that. And the other kind of teaching model is the stagnant analogy, A is to B as A is to B. It's redundant. It doesn't go anywhere. That's the pathologos. And it functions like competing waves. One can bring us to our future. That's the true teaching model. A is to B as B is to C. Whereas one tries to bind us to the past. We are carrying with us a false enlightenment experience from the origin scene in our past. And so we think that what we experience in the present is a mere copy of the truth of the higher model from that scene. So that's interesting, because if we are following the true teaching model, following the logos and dialectic, then that culminates, or not culminate, it results in us actually having an experience of true reality that should become our teaching model. That's what we're looking for. That's why the distortion has such an effect, because we are actually seeking the real and we're supposed to be using it as a model. We're supposed to be using beauty itself as a model for our beautiful creations. That's experienced as the eternal selfhood of beauty in being. The enlightenment experience with understanding. So you can recognize it, nail it down. And we've been reading about that in the Meno. Right opinions you can forget and you have to keep reading every day, which is what we're doing here. But right opinions are a legitimate guide. However, knowledge is better because you can nail it down. It won't run away. You're supposed to carry that as the model in your soul in a similar way that we carry the false model in our soul of the pathologos, but with a series of differences. It is understandable. You can ask questions about it. It's universal. Whereas the pathologos, there were no words, there were no questionings. It was a private thing. And we had a whole list of things that distinguish the pathologos, false model of teaching, from the real one. That was chapter 3. And we got the analogies. And then we read chapter 4 all in one episode. That was a huge episode.
Wow. What? What?
Because we did a whole chapter in one, and it was also a huge episode because we got the 12 stages of the map or model for how to actually address and solve problems. The dialectic of philosophical midwifery. It was huge. So this is the thing that we need to do to ourselves or to our friends or to those who we are practicing being a midwife with. That's chapter 4. It was a huge one. And we had to evolve our understanding of the dialectic, because up until then, we had been understanding the dialectic as 4 categories, which is pretty wild to think about. If the intelligible model of reality that informs every understandable structure, every structure in reality that has parts that can be hierarchically arranged and therefore understood, then isn't it wild that it only has 4 stages? But we had to expand each of those 4 stages to include 3 subsections to give us 12, because there were 12 stages in the dialectic of philosophical midwifery. 12 stages in the process of removing or solving human problems. The very thing we are here to do. So, if you are here watching this, you're in the right place. If you're not, you...
Pour much. I'm cute. Like, it's cutie pie.
I promise I will update my soundboard soon. I haven't had any time to do it recently. So it's really a crapshoot if we get something that fits.
The more holes, the better.
So today we'll go through what we've gone through, because being so significant, being key, being the very thing we're here to learn, it seems, I don't know, it seems weird to do it in one episode. I think we're up to like episode 60 or something of this channel, of this series. I should know. I label them and put them up on YouTube. Oh, by the way, if you're watching on Twitch, you can find the YouTube link below, and you can go through all the past episodes at your leisure. So for today, we will jump back into chapter 4 and go through it again. and see what's there to be seen. And if you are watching the live stream on Twitch or YouTube, feel free to add any comments or questions or any fun emotes you have. Let's jump in. There we are. Now, I've seen some of the other streamers, who are successful, and some of them have sponsorship from gaming chair companies. Maybe when enough people get into this, I will get one too, because my chair is rubbish and my back is sore. But let's ignore that and keep reading. All right, chapter 4. All right, let's go through it. We can go through it a bit faster now that we went through it in detail last time. And let's turn down my lighting. I'm a bit bright. I'm shining like the sun. The Pathologos has a structure, function, and goal that is the same in all Pathologos problems. That's the thing. That's why it can be an art. That's how come we can understand it. That's why problems are solvable. And as we say many times, and as we read in the book, punishment is absurd and irrational. You can't be in this game. It's absurd and irrational because we all get pathologos, meaning we will continuously make mistakes. And if your response to us making mistakes because of the pathologos is to hurt people, you're fucked in the head. You're stupid. You are...
Can't you just engage with anything in a way that's like meaningful? Don't be disgusting. Ever? It's just boring, I think, is the problem. I'm just bored of it.
It's unmeaningful and boring. You are vilifying humans for being humans, but also you're playing out your pathologos ignorance, because that's what controls us. Until we go through philosophical midwifery, and as soon as you're aware of philosophical midwifery, that should be sufficient to stop making people suffer when they are human beings with human problems, and instead create the conditions for reflection and understanding. Those conditions are specifically the 12 stages we're going through here. Also, in society, we are suffering a huge list of stupid, unnecessary problems that are all caused by oppression and wealth inequality, capitalism and fascism. In order for that to happen, that kind of tyranny to happen, a small group of about, I don't know, a few dozen families have to oppress 8 billion other people, so they can hoard all the resources and keep everyone else suffering and starving and enslaved. That can only happen through violence. And you can only justify violence with the buzzword punishment. That somehow humans, these 8 billion people, are made better with a punitive justice system, with punishment, which is just a sneaky way of sneaking violence under the door. If you can get people to accept violence, you can have those few families using that violence to oppress everyone else. And anyone who speaks up, all they have to do is tell a story as to why they've made a mistake. And hey, people who make a mistake, it's okay to inflict violence on them, right? No, it is, because it's punishment, right? That's fucked up. So you can't have violence if you're rational, and you can't have violence or punishment if you are going through this developmental process. You can't be a rational human being if you think humans are made better by making them suffer more, instead of recognizing that all human problems are rational, solvable, understandable, and our job here is to fucking do it. Now, the funny thing is, I'm emphasizing that quite strongly, but the irony is, if you were the sort of person who is watching this video, it's not needed. You probably already recognize that punitive justice instead of retributive justice, revenge, doesn't actually help things. Being rational, solving problems is. So restorative justice, not retributive justice, is one way of saying it. Or understanding and solving human problems rather than inflicting suffering on human beings for being human is the best way to go. So, I apologize, but it can be tough sometimes to see the implications of that ignorance playing out in people I care about. Okay, and of course I just got back from playing music, and every street I have to walk down in order to get to where I'm going is filled with my Australian brothers and sisters sleeping on the street because of the stupidity of capitalism. And you can say it's greedy billionaires, you can say it's greedy landlords, you can say it's a system that is based on one principle: manipulating and exploiting other human beings to extract their wealth and hoard all the resources or capital. You can say, well, it's the result of a banking system that gives you interest. So if you already have $1 billion, you get $1 million a week. Not for doing anything or contributing, but just for being already rich. And that adds up, and the only thing you can do with that is to buy shit. So they buy all this shit, and they keep getting more money, and they keep buying all this shit, and eventually they will own everything, which is the monopoly game. Everyone ends up in prison because you have to break their laws in order to meet your basic human needs, because they've bought and owned everything, and then they've jacked up the rent. So it's very upsetting to see. And of course, that's just my immediate thing, but war, genocide, exploitation, wage slavery, the destruction of the planet, the destruction of the environment, all these sort of things, completely solvable in 5 minutes. Literally, all we would need is 5 minutes of reflection, and we could solve all these problems easily. They're not hard. So our problem isn't how do you solve these problems. That's easy. You could use ChatGPT to solve it tomorrow if you wanted to. I'm joking, of course. Just, we have internet. We can talk to, hey, there are hundreds of thousands of people every year graduating from all sorts of university courses. So why don't we just put our minds together and address these problems? We can't, because people are entrenched in the idea that they want to be the ones inflicting suffering. So they lick the boots of those who do it in hopes that one day they can be maybe billionaires. Why would people be motivated to inflict suffering of others? Because they suffered that suffering. A is to B as A is to B. So our problem isn't how do we solve wealth inequality or how do we solve mass genocide and mass exploitation and the destruction of our environment. Our problem is how do we solve our problems of our own minds? Why is it that we are mature and rational when it comes to many other things, but not when it comes to ourselves? That was the question in chapter 1 of this book. And the answer, of course, is the pathologos, which all of that is just amping up the stakes for the significance of doing what we're doing here. It's worth reminding ourselves about, because the pathologos will try and convince us, don't learn this. There's something better on TV. Or go make some money. Or whatever else. We have to remind ourselves through right opinion, no, this is literally the most important thing to do, and however long you have on this planet, spend it doing this. It's the only thing that can really benefit your soul long term, and by long term I mean beyond this incarnation. So we have to remind ourselves of that every day, which I do often on this channel, and do the reading to gather the right opinions. But then after we gather the right opinions, we have to see the dialectical structure of those right opinions and nail those right opinions down in understanding. By applying the dialectic to it, which will allow us to see how and why those right opinions are right opinions, that's nailing it down. That's the transition from right opinion to understanding. And of course, we have to take that understanding and do something with it, which is A, going out and reaching your most meaningful goals, and B, using it to midwife others. Testing your understanding of midwifery to free yourself from your problems and reach your most meaningful goals. That's the movement from understanding to experience. And also using your understanding to midwife people. People, not everyone, of course, people who are genuinely interested in doing this. People who are genuinely interested in seeking and reaching truth. So that's the cognitive stages of development. Where's my light button? Here we go. Seems very bright today. So, and we can do all that because the structure, function, and goal of everyone's pathologos is the same. It's interesting because if we're all the same, who are you going to kill? Who are you going to put in prison? Who are you going to genocide? Who are you going to keep impoverished? We're all the same. At the most meaningful level, most fundamental level, we're all the same. So how can you divide? It's like chopping off your hand so you have something other that you can burn. That's just going to leave you with no parts left. You have to keep chopping off parts of your own body to attack or burn. Or capitalism. If capitalism's about exploiting other people and we're all the same, then if you consider humanity as one person, who are you going to exploit? You'll have to cut off your own hand. So, that hand is different from me. Now I can exploit it for my own profit. But that's just going to end up with you ahead, atop a pile of your own exploited body parts. Which is where capitalism is leading us. One person standing on top of a giant pile of dead human bodies. Okay? But we don't have to. That's our fate. That's where we will end, because that's what fate is. Your fate. It's the train tracks you're on. But because the pathologos has a structure, function, and goal that's the same in all problems, it is therefore understandable. And you can understand it as a skill or an art. Because of this basic commonness, we often speak of the morphology, fancy word, for form. The form of such problems. Morphology is just fancy word for the shape. Questions designed to surface the particulars of a pathologos problem help us to fill out the nature of the problem. So we are wanting to learn the questions that can add the specific content. By following a method that stresses the order of questioning, the subject can anticipate the direction of the dialogue and insist on the delivery of the problem. If you're really serious about removing your problems, you can't just be passive. Jed understands that. I'm just going to do midwifery with Jed. He's read the book. He's done this a bunch of times. I'll let him midwife me. Well, that's not really how it works. If you learn it yourself, you can anticipate the direction the dialogue is going to go and help. Be a co-pilot. However, there are also times when a philosophical midwife adapts the basic design of the questions to meet the particular needs of the subject. And it is at such times that the method itself becomes a map to chart the direction of the dialogue. Okay. Therefore, there is no need for the midwife to appear as the knower, as if they understand the meaning of everything the subject reveals, because the method itself arrives at a field of data. The method itself brings out the data from which the subject can puzzle out the meaning of and answers to their problem. It's not about being an expert, not about silencing dissenters. It's not about wearing a big funny hat with a cross on it, or big curly whatever the hell those things are that the Jewish people have, that the imams have, or having magic stone tablets like the Joseph Smith from... Okay, it's very, very easy to point to the absurdity in religion because it's based on false beliefs. That's the nature of it. Absurd beliefs, sorry. That's what we saw in chapter 3. Beliefs that can't be proven, and therefore it's inherited tradition. So, you don't have to look a certain way, or wear your hair a certain way, or wear a funny dress, or chant to whatever, pledge your loyalty to Trump, or whatever the hell you do to appear like a knower and get on the American Senate as a Republican. Nope. Because the method itself surfaces the field of data from which the subject can puzzle out the meaning and answer to their problem. It is in this sense that the midwife only assists in the birth of an idea and does not offer answers or interpretations. That's that word interpretation that we're trying to get out of our soul. We don't want to interpret, we want to see things as they are. Equally so, we don't want to interpret the other person's problem. And we don't want to solve the problem for them. We don't want to force the person to give birth to your baby. It's not what a midwife does. So the metaphor of a midwife of babies doesn't do that. And of course, that's one of the problems that I have with this channel. A lot of what we're sharing here was formerly considered esoteric, secret teaching, and even back in the ancient Greek days, before they had their Eleusinian mysteries, the annual big event where half the city would come together and take ergot, a version of LSD. They would be training for a year. They'd be studying Homer, which, and we'll get into this in the channel, the Iliad and the Odyssey depicts, well, the Iliad especially depicts the process of philosophical midwifery. So they were familiar with this back then. So they'd have to study it, they'd have to do the work to prepare for this spiritual experience, or the initiation experience. Adjusting the brightness on my screen. Right, so so you had to sort of earn your stripes. And of course, like, you don't want people learning this stuff if they're just going to use it to be bigger jerks to everyone else. Got to make sure people are actually listening, worth your time. Who are actually going to do it? Who are actually seek truth? They're not going to use it to better manipulate people or horseshit like that. However, we're at a stage in history where we can't do that anymore. We have nukes. So humanity can play out its pathologos ignorance to the destruction of our entire species and the planet we're on. So it's time to just tell the truth. My puzzle, of course, is the line I walk is, how do I tell the truth while not giving away too many answers to questions? Like, I remind viewers that, yeah, this is the meaning of life. This is what we're supposed to be doing. Literally, by definition. That's kind of ruining one of the puzzles. However, the counter argument to that is, I remember when I was younger, I went to California to study with Pierre. And I went to one of his college classes. He taught philosophy. Pierre's the author of this book that we're reading. I went to one of his philosophy classes that he was teaching in California there. And I was on cloud nine. I couldn't believe that I got to be there. It was amazing. But I also couldn't believe, oh man, that classroom. Oh, it was so funny. Just that whole experience around Pierre. Every day you could write a movie or a television series or an episode about. It was just all so mind-blowing. One such event, one such mind-blowing experience that this kid from Australia had in this Californian university class was seeing Pierre Grimes, as we read, the Dharma successor of the Buddhist, one of the, I think, 6 Buddhist lines. So literally, Buddha, the next Buddha, or the Buddha, he was given the stick that says, you are the next to inherit the main teacher of this Buddhist line. A white guy from Brooklyn, never been done. As well as being like an academic genius. So the most intellectually brilliant person and the most spiritually brilliant person standing in this American college class in front of these 18 and 19 and 20-year-old American people, American kids, most of whom I could tell by overhearing the conversations. We're there to make money. A lot of them were in this philosophy class because they had to, because obviously capitalism's so unethical. The college makes them take a course in ethics, a philosophy course in ethics. So I'm watching this unfold and I'm just blown away that all of these people here are so privileged to have their teacher being literally Buddha and also the cleverest person I've ever seen. And no one gave a shit. No one gave a shit. In one particular class, they were studying the symposium. And during the course of studying Plato's Symposium, they discovered the meaning of life. And so it was written on the board. And I'm at the back of the class just blown away. Because the meaning of life is a thing, right? Isn't that a thing? Like, we're all trying to discover the meaning of life and no one knows the meaning of life and everyone's allowed their opinion about the meaning of life, but what if there is a meaning of life is like the, there's a word for this in film. Oh, what is it? Oh, hang on a second. The word I was looking for was MacGuffin. My memory went to Turducken. Close. Turducken is not MacGuffin. A MacGuffin is a plot device that serves as a crucial object or goal for the characters, driving the narrative forward, and ultimately has little or no significance in itself. The pursuit of the Holy Grail, featured in Arthurian legends and other stories, is what motivates characters, creates conflict, but the actual nature and purpose of the Grail is often left vague or unexplored. The MacGuffin. The meaning of life is a cliche MacGuffin. Like seeking the Holy Grail is a placeholder for the meaning of life. So here we are in a classroom with the wisest, smartest person. There's more to it than that, but just generally speaking, writing the MacGuffin on the board. Here is the meaning of life. And no one's fucking blown off their seats. I couldn't believe it. I turned to the kid sitting next to me, and he was like drawing in his notebook. Drawing pictures. It's like, can you see the board? Like, he looks up and he squints. The meaning of life. He goes, yeah, I don't really understand philosophy that much. No. The meaning, you can see the meaning of life written up there, right? Do you care? Don't you want to know the meaning of life? Just, I couldn't believe it. Still to this day, it makes me laugh because it's so puzzling. It's like someone came into the classroom, sat the Holy Grail on the teacher's desk and said, if anyone wants to have it, it's yours. And then they were too busy talking about making money or scribbling in a notebook or whatever they were doing. King Arthur and Sir Lancelot would be spinning in their graves. So, I think that might be a, what do you call it? A safety valve or something? Like, it probably won't matter how often I say the meaning of life is to master philosophical midwifery. It's because every human being gets a pathologos. It's literally the cause of all of your fucking problems, all of your suffering, both individually and collectively. Therefore, if you want to be free of your problems, you have to do this. If you want to live in a world that isn't just caked in injustice and exploitation and genocide and murder and rape and all this sort of shit, then you have to do this. Therefore, obviously, it's the meaning of life. Now, you can go beyond that and say, well, really, you have to be doing dream analysis too, because it will give you guides and alert you to your problems and what's most significant to look at, to highlight aspects of your problem, help you overcome your amnesia so you can remember your past scenes. So you can say, well, dream analysis and philosophical midwifery is the meaning of life. But then you can say, well, actually, you can't really solve your problems unless you're also pursuing your most significant goals. So reading the Balboa version of Plato has to be there as well, because that's where you learn the dialectic or the right opinions and the understanding, so you can actually experience the true nature of beauty, the true nature of justice, while philosophical midwifery frees you from the false models that you are carrying with you that cause your problems. So you can say, well, okay, technically the meaning of life is philosophical midwifery with dream analysis, with philosophy. And you can say, well, but you probably want to have a job maybe. So using that understanding in your art or your craft, we call that mythology. You might want to sneak that in there too. So, okay, there's 4 parts of it. But then you could say, well, actually, hang on a second. It's this, the philosophy is mastering the art of the dialectic applied to what's true. Midwifery is mastering the art of the dialectic to remove what's false. Dream analysis guides you to do both the true and false, but you can't get the message from your dreams unless you unpack the meaning of the dreams, which is the dialectic as well. Same structure, same aspects, same elements, same, what's the word here? Same basic design. Same map. And equally so, if you were doing mythology, you'd just be applying the dialectic to your specifics of music, if you notes and intervals and melodies, or physics, you are discovering how the dialectic informs physical laws and so on. So you can go back to one meaning of life again. It's the mastering the art of the dialectic. There's your MacGuffin. There's your Holy Grail. But what does it matter if I say it? What does it matter that Pierre said it in front of the class? I remember actually saying, like, I actually took the time because Pierre went to do something. Okay, that was a whole funny thing happened when he was gone. But in that time where he was out of the room, I turned to the kid and I was like, oh, maybe he just doesn't know the significance of who is in front of him here, who his teacher is. And so I, said, by the way, I came all the way over from the other side of the world just to learn from this dude. But you're here. And then I explained, his spiritual lineage and his work, him and Alan Watts, and his success, and how he was actually doing guru work that the actual Buddhist gurus couldn't do because they didn't have the logos. So it's rare for people to have enlightenment experiences, even in ashrams, even in Zen centers. But for some reason, when Pierre was around, a lot of people were having that because he happened to be talking to them about their problems in their meditation between sitting sessions. And then he was recognized as actually being the guru by the guru. So props to that guy to recognize that and not be like precious about who gets the Dharma stick. And Pierre's got interviews on YouTube, you can see it, where the guy's like, hey, you're a teacher. And Pierre's like, no, I'm not. So he was actually eager to give him the stick. He wasn't precious about his position of authority. So props to that guy. I explained all this. And his academic credentials, the success, the only form of psychotherapy that's been empirically verified, validated. Of course, it's the only thing that can, because it's the truth. I explained all of this stuff. Chapter 1, pretty much. I went through chapter 1 of this book, just in conversation with the dude. I said, hey, by the way, on Friday nights, there's a group that meets up to do dream analysis, and then half of it's dream analysis and half of it's reading philosophy. Or half, usually dream analysis feeds into midwifery, so it's half midwifery with dream analysis and half philosophy. Come along. I don't think they'll charge you any money for it. Interesting people there as well, and they have coffee, and often the ladies bring food. Some of the food's really, really good as well. Really good food. You know what he did? Do you think he showed up? I tell you who did show up. His older brother and his two older sisters, and they stood at the back like this. They didn't participate. They didn't bring a dream. They stood at the back watching the whole thing. Fucking family guardians. And I said, oh, what did you make of it? Whatever. Oh, I don't know. Well, how come so-and-so isn't here? He was the one I invited. Oh, he's snowboarding. Fuck me. The kid went snowboarding. That's the pathologos. Family members will fight fucking tooth and nail to keep you in the ignorance of your pathologos. That's why you can't reason with Trump supporters. Why you can't reason with Nazis, German Nazis. You can't reason with the Zionist genocidal zealots. And if someone tries to, they will surround you and they'll gang up on you and don't you fucking bring one of us out of our fold. We are the chosen people. And that's the chosen people. That's the myth of Achilles. Achilles thought he was the bee's knees because he was chosen by God. Literally, one of his parents his parents were gods. Or one of them, two of them, I forget now. But that is the mythology. Now, Achilles was the worst son of a bitch ever. That's the story. The worst, even the worst person, Achilles, the biggest, most powerful jackass, can turn himself around through philosophical midwifery and dream analysis to become enlightened. But the enlightenment experience wasn't even the end of it. He went further and did midwifery. He talked to the king of the Trojans, who was the enemy. He walked into the base on his own. Talked to his father, realized that they had the same problems. Talked to the king of the... Anyway, we'll get into the Iliad later on, and you can check it out yourself. Find the Balboa translation if you can, because the word self is all through it in the Greek, but it's not translated that way. That's why we are very grateful for one Balboa who actually translates the Greek into the real words, including the word self, which is in there like 1,000 times or more, like 2,000 times or something. It's all about the self. The self discovering the self and removing the false image of the self, the pathologos. And integrating it, the highest experience of the self, going beyond the highest experience of the self to know the self which is beyond experience, has the experience, causes experience, but also to function through it, like the end of the book. So that theme, that idea of the pathologos is mythologized as divinely chosen. That's the thing. Everyone thinks their family is special. Everyone thinks their family is actually protected by God. Their religion is the right one. Hey, no one has the same religion. You can't, because it's not based on true seeing. If every human being has interpretations and blind spots because of their pathologos, then you can't have two people who actually have the same religion. Everyone's different. And if you've ever been to a church, you know that. No one's idea of Christianity or no one's idea of Judaism, no one's idea of anything is the same as the next person. But everyone thinks that their family tradition is the right one. So here we have the fucking prison guards or the I don't know, the guard dogs of the family. We don't want our little brother learning anything because we already know all the answers. We already know the nature of reality and the divine. Screw you guys. Disgusting. Really, really gross. Just the amount of ignorance and self-righteous ignorance that the pathologos brings is just disgusting. An important lesson I had to go through because I couldn't believe it. Like, don't you want to know the meaning of life? Nope. Fuck you. You don't know the meaning of life. I know the meaning of life. I've never gone through a formal study of it. I've never reflected on my inherited false beliefs. Never done any of that. I just know because my daddy and mummy are saints. It's so fucking stupid. That's why they call Trump daddy. They're playing into that same pathologos fucking ignorance shit. It's absurd. That's why, as a race, we are absurd. We are barbarians. We have not entered the actual human race yet. This isn't the human race. This is barbarianism. And you could say, well, you know, we have to get the pathologos to force us to learn midwifery, to force us to learn the dialectic, which is what we're here for. Or you could say, well, the human evolution was unique with the asteroid killing off the main predators, allowing us to evolve very quickly. And the tribes that survived before language were the ones that were blindly loyal to the tribe leader, and they were afraid of everything outside the cave, so they stayed within the cave, and everything outside the cave was bad. But now that's what we're still doing. Everything outside my religion is bad. Everything outside my family way of being is bad. That's what these people were doing at the back of the classroom there. Savage. We're savages. Which is the question of chapter 1. How do we become mature and rational? How do we escape our savage roots to actually enter the human race? Oh, by the way, wouldn't doing that be the meaning of why we're here? Is that the MacGuffin? Is that the Holy Grail? Is that the meaning of life? So, I suppose I've answered my question. My question is, well, if the meaning of life is one of the big questions, but in order to do what I'm doing here on this channel, I have to point out, hey, this is worth doing. Obviously, it's the thing worth doing, therefore the meaning of life. Am I blowing a big question for someone? For people? I guess the answer is, well, certain things we have to be honest about now. It can't be a hidden tradition anymore because it's too late for that. And B, even if you do say it, most people are not going to hear it anyway. So you're not really blowing anyone's question. And those people who listen are going to be the sort of people who are rational and reflective enough to not just blindly believe it, but keep an open mind and go to the work, do the work, follow truth, go through the process of development to test it for themselves. Can't just believe me saying it, even though it's true. You got to understand, you got to turn that right opinion into understanding for yourself and then verify your understanding in direct experience. So I guess it's fine. I guess. I don't know. But let's keep going. Sound drop time.
The more holes, the better.
There you go. And
Don't be disgusting.
Don't be disgusting, Emma. So no need to appear to be a knower. Field of data. The midwife only assists in the birth of an idea, doesn't offer the answers or interpretations. And following this procedure, the subject can be confident that the direction of the dialogue conforms to the dun dun dun. The art of midwifery. I have to get rid of that drop. That guy claps too long on his own. The art of midwifery. It's an art. Okay, the dialectical method of philosophical midwifery presupposes the subject's willingness, that kid wasn't willing, to participate in a joint venture of inquiry into the nature, joint venture, you gotta do the work too, into the nature, the necessity, and the interrelationships of the obstacles the subject encounters when pursuing his or her most personally meaningful goals. Again, you can't blame, you can't punish, so violence is gone. So what's needed to oppress our entire species out the window? Gone. Why? Because there is a necessity. Necessity to your problems. You need to have your problems. And of course you have the problems, given the forces of on your soul up until your birth and in your childhood. Of course you have the problems you have. That's why our problems are rational. And that's why any sort of punishment or violence or inflicting on suffering is irrational and unnecessary. Okay. So you must have the problems you have, and they must be interrelated in an understandable way with the nature they have. The obstacles that you have, that you face when you seek your most personally meaningful goals. Well, there you go. Thus, the subject comes to understand philosophical midwifery, which is what we want to do around.
I find that very entertaining.
Each stage of the dialectic is indicated by a bracketed capital letter, and these will be referred to in later sections of the book. Okay, so we also will use numbers because we want to see the dialectic in them, and what do you know, there are 12 stages. 1 or A. Individuals who enter into this dialect. Okay, so change my posture for a bit. I'll move this back too. I hope nothing breaks. Okay, so what we tend to do more often, that Pierre also did later on in his life after writing this book, was use dream analysis as the springboard into exploring your problems. But for the sake of just looking at philosophical midwifery on its own, we're not going to, let's take dream analysis out, even though it's such a huge benefit, and just talk about somebody recognizing in their everyday world, oh, I tried to do this thing, it was personally meaningful, and I faced this problem, I faced this block. So that's just a regular everyday problem. Well, not regular, but a meaningful problem. So if that's your starting point, you have to recognize that and come in. You have to bring a problem to the midwife. You have to show the midwife you have a problem. Hey, I've got this problem. And the midwife should say, well, actually, what kind of problem is it? Is it a one-off thing? No, it's a repeating problem. Oh, interesting. Oh, was it a problem to your most meaningful goals? Yeah, it's this thing that I wanted to do. Oh, interesting. By the way, were you able to solve the problem? No. Do you think you know the answer to the problem? No, I don't. I've tried everything I can think of, and I can't solve this problem. Great, you're in. That's the first step. Individuals who enter into this dialectic begin the process of inquiry by stating why they believe they have been unable to achieve their goals. So why do you think you've been unable to reach your goals? 2, or B. They then cite a present example of the difficulties that they experience when trying to achieve their goals. Then they are urged to go on and discuss 2 or 3 more examples or demonstrations until the subjects realize that there is something common that runs through these examples. Okay, so we're using the paradigm of three parts. Oops. So 4 categories of the dialectic and 3 subcategories within each. So give a definition of your problem. Why do you believe you have been unable? Give a demonstration. Give a present example. And give a few more until we find a common theme. And then number 3, sufficient is time is allowed for the key ideas to unfold and to reflect on the broader context in which they occur. So that would be division. So definition of your problem, give some demonstrations of your problem, and now let's divide them up into a broader context from which you can synthesize a key idea or key themes or ideas. So division leads into synthesis. That's stage 3. They are encouraged to explore, this is number 4, they are encouraged to explore any difficulty that turns them away from their goal, making their failure inevitable. The difficulty is often the effect of the presence of negative thoughts, feelings, or inappropriate actions. So this would be the themes that would arrive from the division in 3. The time and key ideas. Those key ideas would be significant, the presence of negative thoughts, feelings, inappropriate actions, making failure inevitable. After the subjects are somewhat familiar with midwifery, they can be led to reflect on the differences between the statement they gave and the problem of their problem and the description of the difficulties that turn them away from their goal. After the subjects understand the problems are intelligible, after the subject understands that problems are intelligible, they can appreciate this difference as another manifestation of their problems. However, introducing this comparison before that level of sophistication has been reached only causes undue confusion and perplexity to the subject. All right, so there's a few things here. So if we've got definition, demonstration, and division, from the division or the broader context, we get the key ideas. Well, the next stage would be conclusion, where you synthesize those key ideas, because conclusion has two parts, remember? Synthesis and analysis. Synthesis is to synthesize a single idea from those key ideas in division. And then the second half of conclusion is to apply it back to the beginning. That's analysis, synthesis and analysis. So we see that fits number D, number 4, because we are applying it back to the beginning, but it's different. So the difference between midwifery and philosophy is midwifery addresses what's false. So your application of what you're discovering back to the original definition isn't to have a greater definition of the thing, it's to see your problem. Remember, everything is to see your problem here. So you're going to have not a greater insight into the truth, which would be the dialectic applied to being, which is philosophy. Balboa version, always. We have this here. You can appreciate the difference is your problem. So you have gained an insight into your problem. So that fits. It fits the synthesis and analysis. But what we're missing in the description of D is the synthesis part. Because we've still got a manyness. We've still got negative thoughts and feelings and inappropriate actions and inevitable failure. That seems like division. You haven't synthesized it into one idea. So what? So the author's giving us some work to do. Just like he didn't outline the dialectic, he's for us to do. He knew it was for us to do. He's giving us a puzzle to solve. And he said that. Remember? You don't solve the puzzle. You give them, you provide the map, which, let's read it. This is reading. You look for the puzzles and you solve the puzzles using the content of your reading itself. So the map provides map here to chart the direction to get a field of data. So this is the field of data. Remember, he is giving us the definition and he's demonstrating it because of that. He is he is mastered the dialectic. That's mythology. His work, his art reflects the dialectic too. Remember the 4 things? Philosophy, midwifery, dream analysis, and mythology. This is mythology. He's using it in his work. So thumbs up. The dialectic is in it. Meaning he is giving us a field of data from which us, the subjects, can puzzle out the meaning. And in the previous chapter, he told us what that puzzling process is. It's the application of the dialectic. The movement from the data, the right opinions, to our own understanding. So what? So we've got to fit the dialectic in. The 4th thing should be synthesis and analysis. We got the analysis part. So what's the synthesis? What would synthesize? What would be the one thing that brings together, is more causal or has the scope over or brings together into a unity? Negative thoughts, feelings, inappropriate actions, and inevitable failure. Because that should be here. That's our question. We got to add it in. Or rather, we got to solve the puzzle using the text. So let's find the answer. Let's keep reading and see if we can find the answer. Okay. Oh, and also because our theory is, because there are 12 parts and only 4 categories of the dialectic, this would fit the end. Synthesis and analysis. But because there are only 3, how does synthesis and analysis, or the conclusion part, let's bring it up on the board. I don't want to just do it all talking. Here we go. The dialectic.
The dialectic. The beating of life. Oh, it's the Turducken. It's the Turducken.
It's the Turducken that Prince Arthur needs to eat the holy Turducken. What? Oh no, that thing is happening again. Okay, I know how to fix it. I just unplug it. What? I plug it in and it will work. Bugger. It doesn't work. Alright. But sometimes I can pause it. I'm going to use my mouse. That's fine. So we've got give a definition of your problem. What's the problem in relation to itself? Now give a demonstration. How does that problem function? Give a couple of examples from your present. Now, division. That functioning of your problem now becomes down here. How does that play out? Or what's the broader context? How does that play out in your life, causing the inevitable failures, causing the negative thoughts, feelings, and inappropriate actions. And from that, you have to synthesize this manyness into a single idea. That's synthesis. Again, an idea that encapsulates everything, or is the cause of everything, or is the most important or repeating theme. That becomes your synthesis here. And then you have to analysis, apply it back to your beginning. For us, apply that back to your original definition. Now, in philosophy, you would walk away from that process with a better definition of your problem. You would have enhanced your knowledge. You've got a better definition of beauty, a better definition of justice itself, better definition of the self. But here, what we are doing is dissolving the false. It's the dialectic applied to the false. So what you're seeing is your definition was wrong. You have a better understanding of of what's wrong about your thinking. So you are made better. But again, it's A is to B as A is to B. It's not something true that you can pass on. You are learning, so you are being made better, but you're learning about what's stagnant and redundant. It's not true. So our question is, we only have 3 parts because we've got 12 parts of the dialectic, 4 categories, times 3 is 12. So how can that be? What if we draw a line here and this better understanding of your problem not only highlights what was wrong here, but that synthesis analysis gives you a new definition of your problem. You see how your your first understanding or your first definition of your problem is wrong because you have a new definition of your problem. Meaning this thing here becomes the new self to self, the new definition. So if we've got A, B, and C, D is both the conclusion or synthesis analysis of this dialectic and the starting definition of the new dialectic. If that's the case, then that would fit with our model of 12. 3, and then 3, and then 3, and then 3, which would actually be 4 kind of, but it actually fits in 3 like that. Did you get that? I'll wait for chat to say whether they've all understood it. My 10,000 chat followers on Twitch. Hey everyone. Did you get it? And if nobody says anything, I'll assume it was crystal clear. Great. So that's neat. Isn't that neat? I think it's fucking neat. I think that's really cool. It's cool to see how, actually, within the dialectic proper, it would be the same thing. Because you take this synthesis and you bring it back to the definition to give a new definition. But then the idea of the dialectic proper is, well, with philosophy is, it evolves upwards. You keep learning. You learn more about it. And you learn more about it. So yeah, this new definition becomes the new dialectic. So I guess it's the same as well. So this becomes the new definition for the next dialectic that you do to continue learning about beauty or justice or truth or goodness. or in the Meno, virtue. We're reading the Meno at the moment. Okie smoggy. Oh, but we need to find what would this be? What would be the synthesis? Because we've got from the division. Okay, we've got our problem. What do you think your problem is? Give some demonstrations of your problem in the present. Now, play it out in some broader context. What have you discovered? Oh, negative thoughts, negative feelings, inappropriate actions, inevitable failure. How do you synthesize that? That's our question. Let's keep reading. Because that synthesis will become the new definition of the next thing. All right? So there's our clue. If that synthesis becomes the new definition of the next dialectic, even though it wasn't given to us in D, the next thing would be D, E, F. We've got A, B, and C, and D, E, F. This would be self itself, the new definition. Then what we're going to see in E would be self to others. So whatever is functioning in E would be, therefore, this. Whatever's functioning is this. Let's read E and see what we find is functioning, because that's going to be the synthesis that we are looking for, that our author is asking us to solve. Does that make sense? I'll take silence for it was perfectly clear. Neat. Alright, so E. The functioning of the new dialectic. After discussing the role this particular state of mind. Does it fit? Can we say the state of mind synthesizes negative thoughts, feelings, and inappropriate actions? Do negative thoughts arise from certain states of mind? The feelings? Well, yeah, that's easy. Do certain inappropriate actions? Do our actions follow our state of mind? Do certain states of mind make failure inevitable? If you're always annoyed, irritated, and angry, you going to repeat the same cycles of failure? There we go. Found it.
Hey, who asked you? Example of this little kid style lying, I think
Okay. So also, it would mean that these first three, yes, it's these stages, but would also be the definition of your problem. So D, E, F would be the demonstration stage. So we've got a definition. So we've got self to self, self to others, others to others, or division, and then E, F, G. G would be the synthesis, analysis, the conclusion of the demonstration section, but also would be the start of the division. It would be within the division, or the broader context of your problem would be the definition here. Because the conclusion of one is the definition of the other, which is also hyparxis. The highest thing that you reach on whatever level you're at begins the next journey in the higher level. So if you're a human being, you do a bunch of stuff, you end up in Pierre Grimes' classroom in California, and you discover, oh shit, all of these business courses are a load of shit. Obviously, life shouldn't be around business or learning how to manipulate and lie to and exploit humans to get them to act against their benefits so you can extract profit. That's what business means. But then you realize the best thing you can actually learn at college is Pierre Grimes' stuff. The meaning of life was written on the board after all. So that's the highest you can learn at college, but that becomes the first part of your actual spiritual journey. So if that guy, his name was Future, by the way, if Future actually showed up, then that discovery, that conversation with me at the back of Pierre's class, would be the introduction to his beginning dream analysis and midwifery, if he showed up, but he didn't. So we will shed a tear for his soul. Isn't that neat? I think that's so neat. Isn't it neat to find out we live in an understandable world? And the understanding is fucking cool? And solves problems? Isn't that neat? Yes.
Wow. Okie dokie.
So, E, which is, let's jump into E. So E would be the demonstration of the demonstration section. So demonstration or functioning. So you start with your definition of your problem. That's the definition section. That's all these three. What's your actual problem? Now you want to know, how does it function? It functions through a state of mind. So it functions through a state of mind. So D is the definition of that state of mind. How would you define that state of mind? Oh, certain negative thoughts, feelings, and inappropriate actions would be how I would describe that state of mind. Okay. Well, then how does that state of mind function? E. After discussing the role this particular state of mind has played in their lives, they are led to explore a past scene. So let's find a demonstration of that you've just defined, that state of mind, defined it with the feelings, thoughts, inappropriate actions, inevitable failure. Now let's find a demonstration of it in a past scene. Where they experience it and what kind, so how are we going to find it? Well, that state of mind you have, that's your goal. That's your map. That's your time machine. It's your time machine. That's your DeLorean. That state of mind will take you through your past. Find the greatest, do you remember the greatest feeling of that state of mind? That you experienced it most intensely. That same state of mind. It may be difficult for some subjects to identify that state of mind in a particular past scene because it may have been a common feature of much of their past, and in such cases, it is sufficient to ask if they can recognize it as part of the background of their life, reminding them it's not unusual for these states of mind to be continuously experienced as the background of one's early life. Given this condition, a scene often surfaces when the subject is asked to reflect on a time when it was more intense than usual. So you say, hey, can you remember a time you experienced that state of mind that we've just discovered, we've just birthed? Just birthed it, didn't we? Didn't we just give birth to a little baby? Did we have a little baby? Where's my baby denim? Baby stuffy. Here we go. Little baby? Got a little baby? When was... Yeah, and you say, when was the most intense time you had that state of mind? And like, oh, I don't know. Just, I always was in that state of mind. And then you say, oh, he is saying that if you tell them, hey, it's normal, it's not unusual, or it is, again, not unusual is a way of giving us a puzzle really easily because we have to flip it. It's giving us work to do. Oh, it's normal, it's common, it's usual. Thumbs up. For it to be a common state of mind, for it to be the background, and so hard for you to identify, hard for you to single out among other states of mind. So that probably will put their soul at ease. And once they're relaxed and they're not thinking, oh, gee, I can't do midwifery, because that could be a problem, right? Because they're going through their problem in the most meaningful way. So the pathologos is probably going to surface, especially if they're thinking about that state of mind of their problem. There's something about saying, oh, that's not a problem. It's normal. Maybe we'll put them at ease a little bit. Now that they're at ease, you ask them, hey, can you think of... Can you reflect on a time when it was more intense than usual? I know it was a background and a common thing, but more intense than usual. If this fails, if that approach fails, then the midwife should pursue more examples of the problem in the subject's present. Can't think of anything. All right, let's leave that for a bit. When else has this state of mind happen in your present? This is when you can use your art. You use your your, what would you call it? Your skill, your flair, your individualness, to ask a question about play and work. Hey, I noticed you're a bit of a footy gun. You were good at doing footy. Have you ever... Hey, weren't you in the grand final recently? Did it come up during the grand final of your footy match? Hey, you work on you're a train engineer, dude. That's not the proper title. What's the name of the guy who drives the train? I don't know. Okay, different example. Hey, you work as a... what do regular people do? I'm a musician and I do this, so what do regular people do? Hey, you work as a botanist, doing plants. Do you remember the state of mind when you were doing botany recently? Alright, so that was lame, but you can do better. That's where you adapt the map, as we saw earlier. If such an approach is taken, more recent past themes may become more accessible. So that will give them more of a DeLorean, more of a time machine. Maybe that state of mind will have more in it that they can recognize as something more significant to differentiate those states of mind from their past scene. So you started with this problem scene, not really enough. Oh, but when they talked about doing their footy, they realized, oh, I also have this pain in my shoulder. Or I also think that not only am I going to fail, but everyone's going to be disappointed at me. I let the team down. That state of disappointment. That I can remember when I really felt like I let everyone down back when I was in grade school, when I was in year 1. That kind of thing. And of course, I've seen Pierre, there are other things you can do, Pierre has this intuition where he can, certain kinds of events that are normally most heightened for people, like I picked grand final, so I know that's going to be a heightened thing, it's going to be more significant. And you'll figure that out as you go. So, if this approach is taken, a more recent past scene may be more accessible and can be explored. And again, there might be times when a subject will not even be able to surface such past scenes, and if this occurs, it is best to recognize it as an obstacle to their recollection. Or, maybe this is part of the Pathologos block. Some past episodes seem to have more formidable defenses against their being surfaced, in which case you can terminate the dialogue and suggest getting into it later. We'll have coffee tomorrow. Or refer the subject to a psychotherapist skilled in handling those kind of resistances with their whatever they learn at college to temporarily sidestep the pathologos in order to get things done. That's kind of what you do in modern psychology. Whoops, there's my lights. We'll use that here. Temporarily sidestep your problem using your whatever method you got from your shrink to do this. Or you can explore the obstacle itself, because the obstacle itself can be used as a manifestation. Oh, you're in it. Hey, you're in it. Talk about it. You can't remember a scene? Why? What are you feeling? Let's hear your thoughts, feelings, and actions, because you are experiencing an inevitable failure right now. What thoughts are coming up? Oh no, I'm letting you down. And everybody here today at the meeting, at the midwifery meeting, they're all waiting for me. They're waiting for their turn, and I can't remember a scene. I'm going to be here all day. They're going to be disappointed in me. Oh, you're in it. You can do that. So all of this, remember, is the demonstration, that's E, of the demonstration. D was the definition of the demonstration, the state of mind. Now it's being demonstrated. Either in the earliest, most intense scene you can think of, or many present examples, especially at work and play, or even their inability to do any of that, is still a demonstration of the demonstration, a demonstration of the functioning. Remember, the pathologos is a false belief about ourselves and reality that we don't know that we carry, that causes all of our problems and causes us to be unable to relate to reason, to logos, to evidence and reason. How it functions, how we experience it, is our state of mind. That's how we feel it, experience it, recognize it, see it, as a state of mind. It's a logos, it's a belief. It's a conclusion we came to take the blame to save our parents because it was too challenge or unable to challenge the injustice that we were presented with when we were in a high state as a child by our parents or parental surrogates. So it's a false belief that we didn't put words on that we're carrying. That's why we have to surface the origin scene so we can deduce what that conclusion must have been and realize that was bullshit. Give them back their problem and say, hey, it's not for me to do. This isn't my fucking problem. You do your fucking work. Don't put it on me just because you had a fucking kid. You do it. By the way, that same thing would be how we would address problems in society. Hey, Trump, all this KKK Nazi shit you're doing with ICE, these lynchings, these murders and rapes that you're letting these toe-headed fucking racist KKK people do in masks. It's not for them to solve, it's for you to solve, buddy. You do it. Take responsibility. Don't put it on other people because you're in a position of power. You can make others do it. You do it. Face your racist dad. Face Papa Trump, who was a high-ranking KKK member himself, famously. Give them back their problem, which is treating them with actual love. You think Trump's happy? You think Benny Yahoo's happy? You think he's going to be happy after he dies? After doing all that shit? Of course not. Love isn't lying like all his sycophants do. Trump is the best president ever. Didn't he lie 30,000 times in his first... No, you're a liberal. The fuck? Don't lie for him. That's not actual love. Lying for our parents, taking the blame, isn't actual love. It's the sick idea of love of the pathologos. So we're only letting go of what's sick and false. So you can actually be a good person. So you actually be loving. Actually help them. So, yes, so we have to deduce what our conclusion was and answer them. If they're not around, someone else will show up. Or you can role play it in the midwifery if your parents have passed away. Or whoever your parental surrogates were. That's the game. So the demonstration, so in other words, the first three is the problem is the hidden definition, the unspoken, non-logos at the moment definition of the self. Getting my chair under the table. I got a long table and there's like a leg right in the middle. It's right here. Sorry, it's so annoying because it pushes my chair back. Anyway. But the functioning would be the state of mind. That's what we're familiar with. That's how we know it. Oh, I'm in it again. I'm pissed again. Or I'm depressed again. Or I'm bitter again. Or I'm lashing out again. Oh my God, it's that same state of mind. So the definition is that state of mind. The definition of that definition The demonstration is, my bad. The demonstration, the functioning, the demonstration, back to the thing on the board. Remember? 4 categories. The first 3 was definition. The next is going to be the demonstration or how it functions. The functioning of the functioning. The functioning of the state of mind is in a problem in the past scene. Now, we want to find the broader context, or the division of the state of mind. F. When these past scenes are reviewed, the ideas and themes. So that's from key ideas unfolding. That was the third stage in the first category. Now the third stage in the second category is key ideas and themes that function in and through the broader context, or the division is the family roles. No. The family roles is the greater context. The key ideas and themes functioning in and through family roles begin to emerge, and the puzzles about their meaning surface. It is by challenging the subject to face these puzzles and to conclude about the meaning of their recollections that the distortions of the past are reduced. So, the key ideas and themes, the division, playing out within the family roles. So, what began as the definition, state of mind. Demonstration. When was the key the most intense experience? Division. How does it play out others to others? Let's get rid of this. Scribble. Does my pen work? Let's see. No. Right, so the definition of the demonstration section, state of mind. How does the state of mind function? How does it play out in your past? Now that past scene, that is the functioning. How does it play out to others or your family members? And then, of course, from division, we want key themes and ideas from which we can make a conclusion. Challenging the subject to face these puzzles and conclude about the meaning of their recollections that this distortions of the past are reduced. So that's the challenging part. This is where people run. I mean, if they've gotten this far. Because the conclusion will be, the meaning is my parents weren't loving as they appeared to be. Hey, newsflash, no one is. Because we all have pathologos. You think we're born knowing the true nature of love? Well, then why are we here? They weren't actually knowing. They betrayed you when you were in a high state, when you were doing your work, when you were doing good. These are the implications. But if you do conclude, because you have character and integrity and courage, and you're facing truth, you're following truth above all, then you will remove the distortions that make you an asshole, that make you a jerk, that prevent you from reaching your goals. Easy to see. Look at people who are the biggest jerks. Are they the least likely to challenge their family clan or their religious clan or their political clan? The fascists, the Nazis, the Trumpers, the Zionists, the Benny Yahoo dudes. The least likely to truthfully tell the truth about the clan members, the family members, are the most genocidal, the most racist, the most Nazi. Keep that in mind when you are facing the difficulty of, but I don't want to, but I love them, but I love my images of my daddy and mummy. Remember Trump, remember Yahoo, remember Hitler, remember the German Nazis. And do better. Even if it takes courage, even if it can be difficult to begin with. And the more you do, the more your distortions are reduced. The distortions from your past and your distortions of the past. The more you're becoming a better person. Okay, so the conclusion. Cramp in my leg. Can I wait it out? No. Okay, so G would be the conclusion of the demonstration and the definition of the next stage, which would be division. I'd be writing it on the board, but my pen's not working, and I'm starting to suspect that might be because of providence. Here I began, this episode we've been talking about how we can help people without blowing their questions for them or taking the work away for them. And we've been seeing that Pierre has given us work to do. He hasn't given us all the answers here. He's given us the material to do our work with. So I could be writing this all on the board, but the pen's not working. I think that's providence because I've already said the meaning of life. You do this. You got to do it. So I think that's probably why it's not working. So anyone who's watching it can actually piece it together themselves and write it out. I'm not going to write it out for you to take a screenshot. You do the work. Which is caring, by the way. Being a slave and doing it for you isn't caring. No matter what your parents might have wanted you to think. So, as their distortions are reduced, conclusion, new ways of perceiving the past become apparent. So, this is what you end up with. You have a new way of perceiving the past, and our hypothesis would suggest not only is that the conclusion of the demonstration or the conclusion of the section, the demonstration section, it would be the definition. So, what we can guess is this new way of perceiving the past is the definition. So the next thing will probably be, how does this new way of perceiving the past function in some way? The demonstration of that definition within the division stage. Complicated? Good. Got a reason to write shit down. Do it. Let's see. The connections between similarities of the past. So, okay, what's our definition? New way of perceiving the past. How does that function? The connections between the similarities of the past and present scenes can now be made. They can be explored for their possible meaning. We're looking for meaning again. So what do we do with our new perception of the past? We can make connections between the past and present scenes. Oh shit, these problems that I come to you with, that we've outlined in the first section, the definition of the problem, I can now make a connection with the past. What's the meaning of it? Oh shit, I've been playing out this same past scene over and over again. It's like that past scene where I was in that state of mind is happening again and again. And every time I get into the state of mind, it's like reality saying, "Oh, you're in it." It's like an alarm clock. That state of mind becomes your alarm clock. I'm in it again. And in this sort of reflection, you can see, I'm just reliving this. It's Groundhog Day. So we've got the DeLorean time thing from Back to the Future, and we've got the Groundhog Day idea of we're just stuck in a loop. That's why we're in the zombie ride. That's why we're a zombie or a sleepwalker. It's fate. Groundhog Day, over and over again. Which is the functioning, the over and over again nature of your problem is so we're in the division stage. So we've got the definition of your problem, the state of mind that you're in, and then it plays it. You can now see the past in the division stage. So that state of mind plays out through your past and to your present. That's other to other. The state of mind you can still use it to delete, I think. Yep. So what's the division? The state of mind playing out through your past. Can't even do that. That's crazy. All right, let's just delete a whole bunch of stuff. Division is the past. So within the division stage, past, which is the definition. How does the past function? Demonstration. It functions to keep you in the present Groundhog Day loop. Present loop. So that's H. This is G and H. So I would be, let's see. These meanings can now be seen as the solutions or hypotheses that account for the failure to achieve excellence, and the individuals are urged to authenticate such hypotheses in their experience as they pursue their goals. So, the definition was an understanding of the past. How does the past function? Connecting to the present. Okay, what's the implications of that in a greater context or division? Well, you have to see. You're in the present. So what's the implications of not your problem? Remember, we're doing midwifery. What's the implications of midwifery? Of this stage of midwifery? Well, the implications are you're going to have to find out for yourself. What's the implication of you seeing this meaningful connection of the repeating your past, keeping you in Groundhog Day? You have to go out because you have to test the implications in the greater context in your present to see if this talk present has made a difference. That's the division or others, which is the... So, let's delete this eraser. It's an eraser. I clicked on it. There we go. So we've already got 3 in definition, ABC. We got 3 in demonstration, ABC, D, E, F. And now we've got 3 in division, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and I. Okay, so this is what we're looking at here. The definition is a new view of your past, which is, by the way, every single new thing is a higher level of ousia. The transition to every stage of human development is a higher level of ousia. Why? Because what we are, or the functioning of the self, is ousia. Consciousness, the ability to turn around and experience things, to ideally through the logos. Pure ousia, of course, is mind knowing itself completely in the experience of being. The study of that is metaphysics, philosophy. But this is self-reflection. By the way, do the Nazis ever reflect on themselves? Does Trumpers ever reflect on themselves? Do Zionists ever reflect on themselves? Nope. Therefore, they are stuck as zombies or barbarians. Until this process awakens higher and higher levels of ousia, and each stage is categorized by, hey, at the end of definition, you recognize that what you thought was the cause of your problem wasn't. A new understanding of your problem and a new understanding of yourself. Holy shit, I was wrong. My problem wasn't actually caused by that thing. I've been lashing out at all these other people, blaming it wasn't actually caused by other people. My God, I've been a real jerk. Or it's not my fault. I might have been functioning as a jerk, but I'm not blaming myself. But of course, it's necessary for me to be such a jerk, given my soul's development and given my upbringing or pathologos. But that awakening to a new ousia allows you to go to the to allow you to recognize a state of mind. Now you are going through life able to reflect and recognize a state of mind. You're not a zombie anymore. You're not just mindlessly acting out the implications of your states of mind like most people do. So you've transitioned through midwifery. Remember, this isn't just one talk, it's many, many talks. You've transitioned to a new level of ousia. You're in the next section. And now what categorizes the upgrade of ousia to move forward from that stage to the next 3? A new perception of your past. It wasn't all peaches and roses and stuff as you thought it was. You can see the past more accurately. Not only can you reflect on your state of mind, but your history. And that's your upgrade or evolution into the next stage of the dialectic. That's what we're doing here. You've got a new view of the past. That's your new ousia. That's the definition. That's G. How does it function? Well, you can function with your new ousia of the past to make a connection between the past and the present. You see how you're reliving your past over and over again. You're trapped in that state of mind from your past over and over again. What's the broader implications or division? What are you going to... So if this new way of seeing the past is the subject itself, the meaningful connection between that and your present is self to other. Now you use that that's the meaningful connection. You use that for another other to other. Isn't that neat how it's just two ideas, self and other, and it's everything? Isn't that neat? Two ideas, self and other. It's all of it. It's everything. For there to be any unfolding into creation from self, the first thing has to be self and other. We're using the two most primary ideas of thought because everything that we think is according to self and other. That's not me. That's not me. I know that because I pinched my arm. That's me. I feel pain. If I pinch the stuffy here, I don't feel pain. But I would never. I love the stuffy. So, the primary unit of perception, the primary unit of thought, the primary unit of metaphysics, we're using it. Starting to make sense of why this is the intelligible order of everything. It unfolds from the first cause. That's the idea of scope. Isn't that neat? What do you say, Arun?
And I find that very entertaining.
Yeah, it's entertaining. I think so too. All right, so what's the broader implications of you seeing the meaningful connection between your past and present? You figure that out. Because it's the broader implication of it's not the broader implication of you being tied to your past. That would be your ignorance. It's the broader implication of your new ousia, your new seeing. The implication of you reflecting on your problem at the first three steps, the first stage, which has the first three steps, was you see that what you thought was your problem wasn't really your problem. Allowing you to be more aware of yourself through an awareness of your state of mind. The implication of your awareness of your state of mind was, let's have a look. So state of mind, how it functions, specifically in a key past scene. The broader implications of you seeing that past scene is ideas and themes function. Through the family role is the implication of the state of mind, is the context of the state of mind is your family roles. You've gone from the state of mind to your role, your assigned role. You're the slave. You're the comic relief. You're the fall guy. Whatever it was. Puzzles about that meaning surface and your challenge to face these puzzles and conclude about the meaning. The implications of you seeing that state of mind, D, a key past scene, E, where it was most intense, balloons, is, the implications of that is you can now challenge that, face those puzzles, and you can make new conclusions about that role and state of mind that you were never able to make before, which is key because often that state of mind is confused for knowingness. Why do you think Trump loves the dictators? Because when his dad showed himself, it was when he was being a fucking prick to young Donald. Famously, it's well known. But now he has, if he goes through this, if anyone, like let's just use him for example, if he has this new ousia of that state of mind, and they see its functioning of that new insight in its past, then he can come to a conclusion and conclude about the meaning of that state of mind. That's key because he's no longer going to confuse it for wisdom or love or strength. A new puzzle and conclusion about that state of mind relevant in connection to his past. Oh my God, it was shit. It was a shit role. I was a slave. my dad was playing out, this shit happened to him. And in doing so, you start to see your past for what it really was. You didn't deserve to be treated that way, Donnie. And your dad didn't deserve to be treated that way by his dad, and so on and so on. Let's end the cycle. Okay, so it's the definition is a new ousia, the demonstration is seeing how it functions, and the division is the implications of your new ousia that you can test out yourself. So these are the division stages. You have to do it. You have to conclude. So C would be sufficient time is allowed for the key ideas to unfold and reflect on the broader context in which they occur. So that's you benefiting from the first stage of reflection on your problem. Hey, starting this, giving a definition of a problem is a new sort of ousia. Most people never reflect on their problems. They never pursue the most meaningful goals, and they never recognize a repeating problem, and they never seek someone else out to talk about it. The beginning of midwifery is the highest level of ousia of most people, which is what we were talking about. It's like Future, realizing that the best class in all of college was Pierre's class. That's the best. Now you're in a new game. Now he could come along to the meetings on Friday night, if he did, but he didn't. So too, a new level of ousia, reflection on yourself and your problems, is needed for step A, but then you can play out, you can come to this definition, you can play out the implications of this in C. You can see the key ideas and the broader context of your problem. Then a new ousia, oh my god, it's all tied to a state of mind. Now it's a new level of ousia, that's the definition. Now let's talk about how it functions. Okay, that state of mind functions at a key scene from my past. Oh, now division is you get to put it all together. You get to play out the implications of your new level of ousia definition, and we ask you questions to see how that functions. So that's our job. We do the middle part. We're the mean, and then you do the last step, which is what's the implications, the division, the broader context. And here it is. When the past scenes are reviewed, ideas and themes function, the meaning surface. And if you actually, so we're helping, I guess we're not just the mean in the middle part, but we're also in this stage too, of course. These are all stages. We challenge you, the midwife challenges you to come puzzle about the connection between that high state of mind in your past and the state of mind you've recognized in your problems. Piece it together. What does that mean? You figure it out. Come on. You can do it. You can do it. You're number one. You can do it because...
I've been a bad little girl.
No. Because...
You've been a bad little girl and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now?
None of this is appropriate, Emma. Come on. Shouldn't have gone to the soundboard there. All right, so what's the implications? That's you. Play it out. Come to a conclusion. Oh, and if you do, the implications for your life and your way of being is your distortions of the past are reduced. That's your implications. You gotta do it. Oh, and if you do it, you will awaken a new level of ousia, or G, a new way of perceiving the past. You've upgraded. You've leveled up now. You're ready for the next 3 parts, or the next stage of midwifery, the division stage. So what are we using? What's the new ousia, the new definition of the next stage? A new way of perceiving the past. So, the new I had to take a break for a second. Right, so your new way of seeing the past. Oh my goodness. You have awakened, you have evolved, you have leveled up. So, by the way, now that you can see the past differently, better, how does your new seeing function? What's the function of this new usia? Well, it can function to make connections between the similarities of the past that you are seeing more accurately and your present, and that can be explored for that meaning. Okay? So what's the implication? So now that's how we would use your new usia. So what's the implication of that? What can you now go out and do to test the implication of that? You can. The meaning is seen as a solution that accounts for the failure to achieve a success, and then you have to go out and authenticate your hypothesis in your experience as you pursue your goals. So the implication is now you can go out and achieve your goals, possibly in a way that you've never been able to do before. That's the implications of you being this stage. You can now do the things you've always wanted to. Maybe. But we're going to see. Why? Because you are testing out the hypotheses or solutions, or the conclusions that you've made about the meaningful connection between those early states of mind and your current states of mind. That you can only do if you're reflecting on yourself. That you can only do if you're reflecting on your problems. That you can only do if you're reflecting on your state of mind. That you can only do if you're reflecting on your past. Notice, reflecting on your problems, step 1, the first 3. Reflecting on your state of mind. A new usia, who reflects on their state of mind? No one. You've upgraded. You're becoming rational. You're waking up to yourself. You're awakening yourself. And notice, see how you're seeing more of yourself? That's what usia is. That's why we say human evolution is the evolution through cognition. And that is higher and higher levels of usia. To perceive higher and higher levels of wholes of reality. And reality is a reflection of self. So seeing higher and higher levels of wholes of yourself. What are you doing here? You're seeing more of yourself. You're seeing how you function when you hit your blocks. That's the first 3 stages. Seeing more of yourself. Oh, you're seeing about your state of mind now. Wow, you're reflecting on your states of mind. That's more of yourself. You are reflecting on yourself. That includes more of your way of being, of your existence, of yourself. Not only you're functioning towards your goals, but your states of mind. Oh, what's this stage? The vision stage? Your past. You are encapsulating more of an awareness of yourself that most people don't have. Do you see how this can go up and up until you can see the entirety of self? Not just through time, like we're at now, but in philosophy, including all of time itself. So the experience of enlightenment or eternity is encapsulating all of yourself immediately, directly. That's pure usia. So what are we doing? We are taking what we're seeing of the process of solving problems, midwifery, taking the data that we're given by Pierre, someone who's mastered this, piecing it together ourselves, moving from right opinion to understanding, using the dialectic, but also we are pushing the implications or the meaning. So the division stage, we're pushing I don't know if this would be the demonstration or division of what we're seeing, but we're pushing the implications to gain a greater insight in our work in philosophy too. To understand what being is, what usia is. To be able to reflect on yourself completely without distortions. Pure usia. Knowing yourself. And if everything in creation is a reflection of self, created by the one self, then you can see everything in eternity. So we're benefiting not just by understanding how to solve human problems, but we're also can push the implications to learn about philosophy too. It's a win-win, right, Oracle?
It's a win-win.
Well said. Well said. Isn't that neat? It's fucking cool. Come on. Give it up, Arun.
And I find that very entertaining.
There we go. See?
Wow.
It's fucking neat. All right, so the new level of Usia is a reflection not only on yourself, but on your past. Not only on your past, the next stage is H, the connection between your past and your present states of mind, specifically when you go for your goals. But then you have to push the implications and test it out yourself. If you do, before we even read it, we can use our model and predict the next stage is going to be as a result of testing it out in your own experience, the division stage. You will come to a conclusion that will be a new kind of Usia, and that new kind of Usia will be the start of the next stage. That's our hypothesis. Let's test it out in experience, shall we? By reading. First, we must have coffee. And some Gatorade. All right, so you've gone out, you've tested, you've done the division, you've gone out and tested the implications of your new level of Usia by seeing the connection between your past and present states of mind, by going out to trying to achieve your most meaningful goals. Let's see if you have upgraded, if you've leveled up to a new kind of Usia in J. J. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This will be number 10. So my hypothesis is J is the 10th letter of the alphabet. If my theory is right. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. It is. There you go. Thumbs up for me. What do you say?
Pour much.
Oh, come on. Give me some
I'm
support.
cute. Like, it's cutie pie.
Well, that's not me, but okay, I'll take it. All right, let's see. Do we get a new Usia? It now begins to be an important part of nearly every talk for the subject to ponder why they accepted and believed this self-image.
It's that. That's weird. And I'm talking
I
about
find that very entertaining. Sorry, guys. Go ahead. Doing that in the weirdo pool. That's you.
Self-image. So this must be the new. Is this the new Usia? You have reflected not only on your state of mind, not only on your past, not only on your problems, but you have maybe realized there's a self-image behind all of that. Let's keep reading. Let's not go too carried away, everyone on my soundboard. We haven't even finished reading this thing. Maybe it's something else. Let's keep going. It becomes an important part of nearly every talk for the subject to ponder why you accepted and believe this self-image. That would be, okay, not only is it, where do you get this Usia from? It's the synthesis, because yes, it's the new Usia, but it's also the conclusion from the previous stage. Remember, look at the thing over here. Definition, division, definition, demonstration, division, and conclusion. So it's the synthesis of your experiences. Oh my God, I've gone out and da-da-da-da. Shit. So long as I don't fall into that state of mind, I'm able to reach my goals. Why the fuck did I believe that then? Why did I believe this self-image? So the synthesis is, behind all of the ups and downs that you're going through, there must be something that is more causal. Remember how we said we had negative thoughts, negative feelings, inappropriate actions, inevitable failures, but incorporating all that at the top is a state of mind. So as you go out and reach this goal, and reach this goal, and reach this goal, and reach this goal, and you're not able to reach the goal first, reach this difficulty as you approach this goal, reach this difficulty as you approach that goal, and a different meaningful goal, and same goal, different day of the week, and so on and so on. You have to apply your hypothesis, linking the negative state of mind from your family role in the past, playing out through the past into your present over and over again, keeping you in Groundhog Day. Because you're going to hit block. You apply the hypothesis, you apply your understanding, you apply your conclusion, and you're able to get through it and drop this stuff, pierce through it, or rather let it go, so you can reach your goal. And oh my God, hang on a second, every time that I applied my hypothesis, I'm not that role. I'm not that state of mind. That's a role given to me by my family members, and I saw the meaning of that. Then every time I let it go, I am dropping a aspect or element of my self-image. I'm not that, I thought. Because we're here to discover ourselves. And as we're talking about Usia and the self being the first cause, you're everything. You're beyond everything. You're the cause of everything. And you can experience yourself as everything. That's Usia. To get to that level of Usia, you have to drop everything that's less than that. Every image of yourself. So you'll find in your own experience, no one can tell you this, you have to find it out yourself. That's the division stage of the division section. You'll find out you're dropping your self-image over and over again, allowing you to, because that self-image, hey, you can't think you're rubbish and also realize you're everything. They're inconsistent, they're incompatible. And you'll see it over and over again, and then, hey, every talk, or nearly every talk when you're at this stage you'll be puzzled about if it isn't true, and it's so devastating, and it's so limiting, and it's so against the opposite of the truth. Why did I believe it? Why did I accept and believe this self-image? Ooh. Single. Which indicates a single thing that unifies the divisions, a single thing that unifies the division, synthesis. So I think we're right on the ball here. Synthesis. There's going to be more to it, the analysis part. But if it's a single self-image, it's a one, it's single. Why do they accept and believe this self-image? By their own reflections, you gotta do it. They are brought to see that a false belief about themselves influences them and can be said to mold them in some way, and it is this that also shapes their way of anticipating reality. So it's a false belief about themselves, that's your self-image. It influences you and molds you and shapes your way of anticipating reality. This is your new Usia you've awakened. An awareness of a false belief, an awareness of a self-image behind which there is a false belief. Okay? So how does this self-image demonstrate or function? Well, I think we covered that. Oh, no. So part of defining this this self-image is seeing how it does this. Okay, cool. All right. Okay, a new level of so what are we doing? So how does this new usia that we have defined, an awareness of yourself as having accepted and believe a false image, a false belief that influences you, molds you, it has you, you don't have it, and also shapes the way that you anticipate reality. Oh, I can't do this, I know what's going to happen. What's the functioning or demonstration of your new usia? Okay. A new level of exploration occurs when the connections between problems are sought, when their interlocking effects are made visible. You start to see how all your problems are coming together. And when each is traced to encounters with significant persons in one's life. For the dynamics of a personal problem becomes visible when the problem is seen as not only necessarily occurring when it does. Again, every time we see the word necessary, we remind ourselves this is why punishment is fucking stupid and should be eliminated from our species. Duh. It's necessary that you had your problem. Necessary. Not because you're shit and deserve to be punished by some asshole. Okay, let's ignore punishment for a while. Get worked up. Because it's so dumb. Come on. Anyway, necessarily occurring when it does, but as having a force that shapes the dialogue session itself. Oh, so it seems like the functioning of your new level of usia allows you to see how it plays out all the time. Between all your problems interlocking. Okay, as we said in the previous section, the family roles of F. You're able to see more about it. Significant persons in one's life. Traced back to. But also the functioning of this new usia about your false image and belief that influences you and allows you to anticipate and causes you to falsely anticipate reality. Not only plays out everywhere, but plays out here too, in this talk itself. For the problem must also play itself out. Must. Don't pretend you're immune to this. Midwifery isn't to play the knower. Remember? Must play itself to some degree in the presence of the philosophical midwife. When philosophical midwifery itself is perceived as a meaningful goal. So what's the significance of your new usia? How's it function? Well, it functions for you to be able to see how it's all connected, and even in this talk. What would that mean? Remember how we talked about at the beginning that the idea is for you to learn midwifery yourself. So you can anticipate the direction of the dialogue and assist in your own delivery. Hey, women who give birth to babies have to go to Lamar's classes. They have to help. They don't leave it up to the midwife. I'm just gonna lay. I'm just going to lay back on the delivery table and let the midwife take care of things. No, you got to learn the process. You got to help too. Part of that helping is, well, you can help in a greater way when you reach this. K. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. The 11th step. You can approach your own midwifery sessions in a more mature way. Wow. Owen?
Wow. What? Wow. What? Wow. What? Wow. Wow. Wow.
Wow. All right. So, you're aware that there's a false image. You're aware there's a false belief. You're aware that it can be traced back to key moments with significant loved ones, family members. You're aware how it molds and shapes you. It's a high level of usia. How does that function? You can see how there's an interlocking effect between all of your problems, and you can see it. It's made visible. You can trace it back to its origin, and you can see how it plays out in all of your goals, especially in midwifery, the most important thing. Remember, it's the Turducken. Midwifery is the Turducken.
It's the meaning of why we're here. It's the most important thing we can do.
So of course it's going to play out. But so previously we saw in the division stage of the previous section, you can now go out and apply your understanding, apply your conclusions, apply your hypothesis from midwifery to reach higher goals. Now in this section, with this, as a result of that, seeing with an upgraded usia, being aware of a false image and belief about yourself, not only can you reach those goals, it seems like you can do midwifery better. The most important goal. Hooray! Yay! Okay, last stage. So let's predict before we read it. There's a new usia, a new definition that can function in a new way, and then you have to go out and apply that to test the implications or the broader scope. And we're in the last stage. What would that be? Finally, there are those who recognize that the more mature and significant goals are suprapersonal. So now the implication of that level of functioning to be able to do midwifery even better, you're able to realize something, that the goals are suprapersonal. Why? Because you've seen that that your self-image, that self-images themselves are false. And you've been wondering in this whole section's about wondering why you even believed it in the first place. You've already seen there's a self-image, allowing you to tie all your problems together. This whole section has been wondering about why you believed it in the first place. But therefore, the implications is that if there is no self-image, what does that mean? If to be able to reach your most meaningful goals, you have to drop more and more of your self-image until you realize in J that the synthesis, what you've been doing in applying your hypothesis, in being able to reach your goals time and time again, oh my God, I'm doing the same fucking thing, I'm just dropping more of a self-image, that's what I'm doing? Then why did I believe a self-image to begin with? And so that's what we've been doing, wondering about why do we even believe that? But not only that, what's the implications of that? Now I can do midwifery better. And now I can realize, well, if there's no self-image, all of the most meaningful goals must be beyond the ego. There must not be an individual soul, an individual self. It's just the self. It's supra-personal. There is no self-image. In the most meaningful goals, holy shit. It's wild. Imagine realizing that. If all our problems are to do with having a self-image, there's no self-image. What do you say, Owen?
Wow.
Exactly. Those who recognize that their more mature and significant goals, the other stuff has been immature. Everything up until now has been kid stuff, really, are supra-personal, requiring them to focus on what is called a self-actualizing process, or, put simply, philosophical goals. And of these, some go on to learn the higher functions of philosophical midwifery. Hey, if there's no individual self, no separate self, no self-image, what are you doing? You're moving into the third hypothesis in philosophy. The second hypothesis, which is being, and the one self. These are all philosophical goals, because philosophical goals are supra-personal. The logos and dialectic we're talking about isn't just me, isn't just Pierre, isn't just this book. It's everything. It's the intelligibility of self, reality. And we use it to experience ousia, which is everything all at once. Everything? Everything. You mean, what? I thought I was separate and individual. No. You're everything, pal. Understanding that and verifying that understanding and experience is what we do in philosophy, the Balboa version of Plato. And then, beyond that is the one self, which again is philosophy. These are all philosophical goals. And of these, some go on to apply their ability to succeed in philosophy and their ability to have gone through this freeing themselves from the individual self-image. Apply all of it, which would be a synthesis to the final conclusion to learn the higher functions of philosophical midwifery. Master philosophical midwifery as it applies to this and philosophy, and let's throw in dream analysis too. That's the meaning of life. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had a fun time. Thank you for Baby Stuffy for coming along. Feel free to like and subscribe and all that. And if you want to donate, there's a link below. If you want to join the Discord, you'll get a notification when we go live. I hope you had fun. I hope you're as puzzled as I am. And I hope to see you next time. Thank you so much. Bye. Bye.